Hello and welcome to season 7 of the Practical Permaculture Podcast. I'm your host, Alysse. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. I feel like I left season 6 on a bit of a low. We had sick kids, we had issues with our bank, we had a lot of stuff going on in our life, and it seemed like everything was stacked against us. I'm coming into season 7 with some great news. We have started our house build officially. So the plumbers are on site today and the slab will get poured next week, which is very, very exciting. It also has finally stopped raining. So I feel like the clouds have literally and metaphorically lifted and we are able to do stuff outside. The garlic's in, we've been pruning some trees and we're looking onwards and upwards because I felt like we were in a bit of a rut, in a bit of a low last season. In our personal life, not the season. We had some wonderful guests. I'm looking forward to the Botanical Bazaar, which I'll be going to in August. So I'll be up there doing a takeover on the day of their Instagram and showing everybody what's all about, visiting the community gardens up there in Narang, which I'm really excited about. I've also got some other events that I'll be heading off to work with some other businesses where we just collaborate and work together, which is very exciting. Organic beef company, a permaculture farm. So we've got lots of things happening here. And hopefully I'll be able to share a lot of them with you and do a bit of behind the scenes. And because I've been interested in all things house related, I've actually been researching water a lot. So how we're going to store it, how we're going to manage it on site, whether we need water filters. We currently have a benchtop water filter, but we don't want that for the house. We want something integrated. And the water's really crappy here. I'm going to start testing our water. I found a place online that does that. Tasting tap water here is quite gross, and especially when we get heavy rains or flooding, it can be quite awful looking as well, especially for the few days after heavy rain. So for me, it's really important that we get our water tested, not just for what we can see, like we can see and taste the water quality isn't great, but I also want to know about other stuff that could be in our water. So that brings me to this season's sponsor, mywaterscore.com.au. They're an online based business that you can test your water and send it off. Our gardens and bodies are made up of water, but did you know what is in yours? If you're like me, you're probably thinking that it's time to check the tank. And on top of that, there's modern contamination of PFAS, chlorine, and other chemicals that are linked to real health impacts. Aussie-based mywaterscore.com.au has made it possible to get real lab results from NATA certified labs straight from your mailbox. Whether you're on tank, bore, or mains, it's a simple mail to lab kit that gives you clear results for bacteria, PFAS, heavy metals, and more. It's all explained in plain English. Use the code PRACTICAL to get a discount off your first test at mywaterscore.com.au. And for anybody interested in the whole process, I'm going to test my water. So if you jump on Instagram, you can see how I do it, how easy it is, the process. When it comes back from the lab, I'll read you the results. So I'm really interested to find out. My big concern is PFAS. I'm really worried that that's going to be in our water here. So yes, it'll be interesting. And I know it's something a lot of people are concerned about. So today on the podcast, I have Robyn from Pip Permaculture Magazine. So I chat with her about her journey into permaculture, how she started Pip Permaculture Magazine, a bit about her property, her family, motherhood and permaculture. So if you're interested in learning more about her story, keep listening for the rest of today's episode. Welcome to the Practical Permaculture Podcast, your weekly dose of gardening, intentional living, and all things permaculture, served with a side of fun and plenty of great conversations. I'm your host, Alysse, and together we'll dig into practical tips, chat with experts, and explore ways to cultivate a more abundant, sustainable life. Let's get growing! Hello, Robyn. How are you?
Good. How are you going?
I'm well, thank you. So this week we have Robyn, who, what's your title? Owner, creator of Pip Magazine?
Founder, maybe?
Founder of Pip
Founder,
Magazine.
publisher.
So for people who don't know you and your story, can you give us a bit of context to who you are?
Yeah, so I started Pip Magazine, which is the Australian permaculture magazine, back 11 years ago in 2014. And yeah, I just started it off as it was just me in the beginning, and I did a crowdfunding campaign to help launch it. And yeah, the permaculture community in Australia really got behind it, and plus the wider community. And yeah, it took off and went really well. And yeah, 11 years later, still here, still publishing. We have our peaks and our troughs, and I think, like a lot of businesses, well, some did and some didn't, but COVID was a peak when everyone suddenly wanted to know how to make sourdough bread and how to grow vegetables, and they had all this time on their hands. And so yeah, it's been an interesting journey, and it's also been a journey that's been happening alongside the journey of bringing up children and having a property myself. And yeah, so that's been an interesting balance / juggle / trying to do everything at once.
For sure.
Yeah, it's been good. It's been a great journey.
You're based down on the south coast of New South Wales.
Far south coast in Pambula of New South Wales.
What a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it is very beautiful here.
And so take us back a bit. How did you first learn about permaculture? Did you grow up with it? Did you read about it? Did it smack you in the face one day? How did it come into your life?
I definitely didn't grow up with it. My dad always had a veggie garden, and I kind of had a little patch at one stage myself. And so, I mean, that's sort of, they kind of had some of those lifestyle things going on, but definitely wouldn't associate, like they wouldn't have thought of the word permaculture or known anything about it. And then, so I always kind of had that interest and a real connection to nature. And I picked up a book on permaculture. I can't even remember what it was. It was like a sort of permaculture garden design book or something, which, was interesting. But then it was Linda Woodrow's book that really, caught my attention. Always, when I started living in my own places, I, often enjoyed having a little veggie patch. And then my partner and I and two of my kids, the other one wasn't born yet, decided to leave Melbourne where we were living, and we moved up here.
Okay.
And when I was up here, I ended up working on a magazine called Sustain Magazine, which was a sustainable living magazine for this area. Yep. And I worked alongside John Champagne on that, who's a permaculture educator and elder who many people have probably heard of.
Yep.
And so I got to know a little bit more about it then. And then that magazine kind of fell by the wayside. And at the time I was 7. So then I decided to do a permaculture design course. And at the time I was 7 months pregnant with 2 little kids, a house half built, a property in development. And I thought, maybe I should start a magazine.
I feel like so many pregnant women do that. They're just like, I'm going to take on this massive creative endeavor. While I'm birthing this, I will birth my business.
So that may or may not have been a good idea, but here we are. So, but so when that's when I kind of decided to do it. And obviously I didn't do anything immediately, but, in the hours I spent, in the middle of the night breastfeeding, and, I could ponder the ideas and work through them.
Yeah.
And I think it was, maybe about 2.5 years after that I, started the magazine.
And when you're in Melbourne, were you in like publishing and media, or was it a totally different career?
I was a photographer, freelance photographer, and I worked for a few newspapers. Yeah. And I did a bit of freelance writing to go with the photos, really. So no, not a great deal of experience in publishing.
Baptism by fire, I bet.
Maybe if I did have a bit more of experience, I might have gone,
probably.
I'm not going to do that. But I blindly stepped into it. Yeah.
And so how has it changed over the years? I discovered it when I discovered permaculture only a couple of years ago. But how has it evolved over the years?
The magazine?
Yeah.
Well, it started off, I did 2 issues a year, just print. and we did that for a couple of years, and then we went up to 3 issues a year, and we did that for a few years, and then we went to, I think it was around 2020, we went to 4 issues a year, so that they sort of ran in with the seasons.
Yeah.
I originally was going to go quarterly, and then I realised I actually thankfully had a reality check and went, you are not going to be able to produce 4 magazines a year, raise your children and run a property. So it was a slow progression, and slowly I got people on board helping. So for the first little bit it was me, and then slowly people came on board in different capacities and helped publish it. And now we've got a really great team, and I'm less involved in lots of, well, I'm still a bit over involved, but I'm trying to be less involved in lots of areas. And my team do a really fantastic job, and we have a lot of fun, and it's a beautiful thing to create that, to be able to really just create content around something that you love and are passionate about, and have the full creative license. And the other thing apart from the print was we developed the digital version. So originally we just had a kind of PDF, then we had it on a third party company that you could see it digitally, but it was nothing to do with Pip. So then a few years ago we got all of that content onto our website, so that all the articles that have ever been published in Pip are now available online, and they're available as articles, so you can read them on your phone or on your laptop or any device, and you're not trying to look at a little PDF on your phone. So so over time that side of things has grown a bit more, and and in the beginning I also used to run quite a lot of courses, but I also had little kids, and I just realised that maybe that was a little bit pushing it a bit too much, trying to do that as well. So I stopped doing that, but now I'm getting back into it as my kids now are older. And I've got more time. And also I feel like, with everything we have digital, and we're working towards some online courses, but I also think with everything so digital nowadays, I'm actually really looking forward to I'm enjoying creating in-person experiences where we can all actually connect with each other in person, and it's not just another screen activity that we're doing.
I think so many people looking towards relocalization. We've kind of had this big movement of global and connectedness, and I think we also see the detriment to that in our modern culture as well, and people are really seeking that out. So it's wonderful that they can have the best of both worlds. And so how do you think permaculture and your permaculture journey influenced motherhood for you?
Well, it's interesting. You kind of, before you have kids, and when your kids are little, you have lots of great ideals how everything's going to be. And when your kids are little, they just do what you do, and they don't question it. And then as they get older, and particularly if they don't go to a kind of if they do go to a mainstream school where other people aren't necessarily living like that, suddenly they're like, oh, I don't want to do that, and I don't want to live like that, and I don't want to eat that, and I don't want to, all those things that and for them it's, as kids and as teenagers, fitting in and being able to do all that stuff is so important. And so for me it's actually been interesting, because what I thought I would be like, and how I thought things would be as a mother, practicing permaculture and having kids, it didn't necessarily all pan out exactly like that. And I've had some very funny conversations with other women in the same boat that so it's actually been a bit of a letting go of the ideals in some ways. And I know some people would say, well, you just do it and they have to accept it or not. But that wasn't really the reality with me. So it's actually been a process of just realizing that although I would love to be doing everything perfectly and doing all the things that I would probably do if it was just me, I've just had to let go and say, well, that maybe isn't the most important thing here. Maybe family harmony and all those things are You know, I remember my daughter going off the first day of high school, and I'm trying to wrap her lunch in honeybee wraps, and she's like, I don't want honeybee wraps. I just want Glad wrap. And, you know, you sort of pick your battles. And I mean, some kids are more stubborn than others, but
Yeah,
there were certain things that I just let go of and went, okay.
yeah.
And buying things that in packets that I would prefer to make myself, or I would prefer to get another way. I just So an interesting thing. It did influence how I do things, and it influences how I do everything. But it's also been a process of realizing that you can't necessarily force that on everyone around you, and you have to kind of work what works with everyone.
I'm entering that era right now. So my 7-year-old was homeschooled last year, and then decided just at Christmas time that no, she wanted to go to school. It's like, you don't even know what school is. Like, what do you mean you want to go to school? So and we're coming up against that a lot. And then even her friends coming here, I've started realizing too, when they come over, we live in a tiny home. So I'm like, scram, get off outside, go play. Like, we've got an acre to explore. Off you go. And they're just like, what do you mean? Like, I've got to go outside. Like, some of them, not all of them. We're in a pretty country kind of area, but it's very interesting what you have to let go of. And I was speaking to Sue Dennett about motherhood and permaculture, and I said, how did you find it? Because she had her son Oliver and her process, and she said very similar to you, once they get to a certain age, you don't have that, and you just hope that leading by example will come back around maybe when they're older, or if they follow that thread later on in life, that it's there somewhere for them to kind of pick up again. So it is very interesting.
And I've seen other people in the area whose kids have, who are older than I am, and their kids have grown up, and often they sort of move away and into the big wide world, and then they come back and go, actually, that was pretty good what you had going on. And even just the little things that they take away with them that,
true.
You don't necessarily realize that, but it's just how we live, and it's, they might think I'm being, like over the top when we're having dinner, and I'm like, oh, now this is from the garden, and I'm getting all excited about it, and they're like, Mom. But, they appreciate that, and, although none of them are actually into growing food at this point in their lives, I think potentially down the track they might get into it. And also they've grown up where that's just a part of everyday life. That, food comes from the gut. Not all of it, of course, but, you grow some of it. And, I mean, one of the things I really find frustrating is it's like, I used to be like, I don't want to buy any fruit that's not in season. So, all they wanted was an apple. I'm like, sorry, apples aren't in season.
Yeah. My son wants watermelon in winter. I'm like, mate, I can't justify that.
Yeah. But then, then they would go to school because they had fruit break and they could take one piece of.
That's what we're going through. Yeah.
And then they would hide their homegrown mandarin or tamarillo, and then they would rock up saying, I haven't got any fruit, so they could get an apple from the,
bucket,
place where they get them. And I thought, this is ridiculous. Like, I just buy them apples if they want apples, So, but they seem to just not want whatever is in season. But now we've got apples. Are you going to eat the apples? Oh, no. Not really.
Don't feel like it. Yeah. My son loves all the summer fruits, and I bought him some tinned mango thinking I'd get away with it. And he was like, he hated the texture. He's really funny about textures of food. And he was like, no way. Can't trick me, Mum. He's only 5, so I can kind of trick him still with some things. But the mango was like, no, that's not a real mango. Well, it's real, but you know what I mean? It's been tinned, canned for too long. And so your property down on the South Coast, is it a big plot of land? Or?
Well, it's 2.5 acres. So
lovely.
It's not like a massive bush block, but it's well and truly enough to do what we want to do. I mean, I often think if I had a quarter of an acre, I could probably still do what I need to do. I mean, what I love about having this space is we've got space. We're not right on top of other people. But we've got a few sheep and they live in the paddock, and so we've got, and we've, sometimes you think you haven't done much, and then You look around and think about how, or you see a photo of when you first bought it and you realise, how much you have done. I mean, we totally rebuilt the house and we lived in the shed while we did it. And, we've planted fruit trees and we've got an orchard and big veggie garden and berry patch and fruit trees dotted around and chooks and a few sheep and this and that and the other. But, so they're in a big greenhouse. It's been half built for a few years. But, I mean, it's not something we sort of work on full time. So it's very much my partner's works full time. He's a nurse, so he does all sorts of shift work and he's around all over the place. And then, I'm pretty busy doing this and with the kids. So, we do what we can and, it ticks along and we grow enough food to supplement, what we're doing. And, it's good. And it's a beautiful place to live. And also the house, the way we rebuilt it, it works really well for us. It's very comfortable to live in. And, and we've got a converted barn, which is the Pip office as well.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
Are you off grid there or?
Well, we've got tank water, but we've got power.
Okay, cool.
And we've got, septic. So we're not connected to the water, but we're connected to power.
Yeah, cool. And what do you keep the sheep for? Just to keep the grass down or?
I'll keep the grass down and we eat them too.
Cool. Yeah. Excellent. What kind of sheep are they?
They're Dorpers.
Right, yeah.
So they're pretty low maintenance. They kind of just do their own thing.
Yeah. We're looking at getting, because we've got an acre and a half, so we're looking at whether we can implement something. I'm trying to convince my husband to get some miniature pigs, and he's like, they don't stay miniature, you realise that? I'm like, no, like little tiny ones. We'd like having another dog. And he's like, no, we're not getting a pig.
Yeah, we had pigs for a while, and I distinctly remember running down the street with a baby on my hip in my gumboots, trying to get my other daughter off to school, chasing pigs and having the kids, like, you stand there and you stand up there and we'll get it in here. So it was fun. We didn't keep that up though, because they maybe need a bit more room to be able to be moved around a bit more regularly, right. Or to have a space that they can just completely
trash.
Destroy.
Yeah, pretty much. And do you have chickens?
Yeah, we've got chickens. We've got a little run that goes around the veggie garden because our place is on kikuyu grass. So we're surrounded by paddocks of kike. So that is the bane of our existence as far as vegetable gardening goes. So, but the thing we did do is we've got a chook run that goes all the way around it. So the chooks just keep the kike down from that run. So it's like a bit of a barrier.
Yeah.
And it's not 100% foolproof, but it actually has worked really well. And the other thing we don't have much trouble with is snails. So I think just having that going all around, not that they come in, well, they're not meant to come in. If they do come in, that's when you see very upset. When you've just planted all your seedlings out and you've been watering them and looking after them, and then you come in and the chooks have got in and scratched every single one of them up.
Yeah, not fun.
That is a very sad moment.
Yeah. And so where did the name Pip come from for Pip Permaculture Magazine?
So Pip came from, it's the idea of a pip, as in a seed, and the idea in permaculture that things are circular. So you eat your apple, you keep the pip, you plant it in the ground, you grow a new tree, you get more apples, you get another pip. And it's that cyclical idea. A lot of people think it's an acronym and for people in permaculture or permaculture practice. And I did kind of consider that, but I think, Pip's so much more than that. So, I mean, originally the idea just came from that. So it's, it is big P, little I, little p. And just having a name that's short and punchy and
And so what made you, like, I know that you were in the magazine beforehand, and then when that one closed, what actually made you want to open Pip though?
Well, previously before that, 10 years prior, there'd been a permaculture magazine in Australia.
Oh, okay.
And it had shut down, the PIJ, Permaculture International Journal. And so there hadn't been anything for about 10 years. And when I did my PDC, Permaculture Design course, for those that don't know, John Champagne was very encouraging. He's like, come on, you should start a new magazine. Start a permaculture, Australian permaculture magazine. So I was like, okay. He's good like that. He'll be like, yep, this is Robyn. She's going to start a new magazine.
Just volunteer you.
And and also, I mean, moving up here, there wasn't a lot of opportunities locally. One for work, as in doing photography and journalism, and two that could fit in with having young children and not sending them off to daycare and everything all day every day. So it enabled me to do something I love in my own time. And it's just some of that time was at 3 o'clock in the morning. When the kids were young, it was tricky getting time to do it because, obviously they were my first priority. And so, it was when they slept or, night. I tended to wake up in the night and I'd be awake lying there thinking about what I needed to do. So I went through a stage where I'd just get up and do a couple of hours work in the middle of the night.
Right.
And, which maybe wasn't the best for me, but it was fine at the time because in the day I was hanging out with the kids, and if I was a bit tired, it didn't matter too much. And it worked for that phase. Now I would never do that, but well, I hope I wouldn't. But I mean, you just have different ways you work at different phases and
different
how you
seasons.
can squeeze it in with everything else that you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much in the magazine. So you've got articles about growing, about how you can cook with different foods. You've got interest piece on different people and things that are happening. You cover a lot of diverse topics. What's kind of your favorite thing to put in the magazine?
Well, I mean, I do like talking about growing food, but I think it's obviously evolved over time. And quite often now I quite like writing or contributing to like the nurture pieces, sort of, talking to people about how to kind of look after yourself. And, I think there's a danger. Well, I recognize it because I went through this, but feeling this kind of guilt that you should be doing everything and giving yourself a hard time when you're a mother of young children and you're working and you're looking after a property, and then giving yourself a hard time because you haven't, you've got rubbish in the bin or something like that. So I'm always a little aware of, although we're giving people all these great ideas of how to do this and how to reduce waste and how to grow food, and to also make sure that we're telling people to, hey, look after yourself too, and look after those people around you, and don't get too caught up in being perfect, because that can actually have a detrimental effect on you, which makes it then harder to do all the things that you would like to do. So I like that. I mean, I love interviewing people, and we have an Indigenous knowledge section, and I love going and spending time with people and just hearing their story and letting them talk and share their knowledge. And I enjoy that. And all aspects of it, really.
I find that when you're talking about, the guilt or feeling frustrated or even beat down, I find I beat myself up a lot about composting. Composting's my big thing at the moment, because we've set our property up for when the house is built, but we're living in a tiny home. So our composting bays are where they're going to be for the house, but they're not very convenient for where we are right now. And I feel so much guilt about putting food scraps in the bin, or if the kids do it, and or I fill my compost up and then I won't take it out in time, or I don't put it in my bokashi properly and it goes all gross. And I find it really challenging because, like you said, there's so many things you could pick your battle for, whether it's reducing plastic in your home or composting or whatever it might be. So I know, because our podcast is for beginners too, do you have any tips for how you combat that and the kind of feelings around that?
Well, I think choose your thing that you're going to do, like choose your interests, and the other ones, you can just let them go. Like, you're not going to destroy the planet on your own by not doing one thing, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I think the thing that really resonates, well, either the thing that you feel really strongly about and like you feel like, okay, this is something I don't want to be contributing to, or the thing that you really love doing and you know, makes your heart sing. And, you know, like for me, growing food is, I love it. I love being in the garden. I love harvesting. I love all aspects of it. So for me, that's always something I'm doing. But having said that, you know, I'll go through phases where life just gets super busy. You know, there's heaps going on and I haven't had a chance to get into the garden and plant things for weeks, and I know I'm behind. And and you know, if that happens, I also don't beat myself up about it. But you know, and I love making bread, so that's something I do. I did a mushroom growing course a little while. Actually, it was about 10 years ago.
Yesterday feels like yesterday.
And well, we ran it here, and I was like, right, okay, growing shiitake mushrooms on logs, and I had some of the equipment, and then I just went, you know what? I don't think I need to do that. You know,
one too many things.
I think that is maybe just something I'm not going to do. And it was actually quite, you know, relieving. I was sort of getting all excited about doing it. And I mean, yeah, we've got bees. I like beekeeping. So yeah, I think, yeah, choose your things that you really want to do and that make you feel good and that you're good at or you enjoy.
Yeah.
And also the things that if you weren't doing them, you would feel quite uncomfortable with. And focus on them. And yeah, let go of a few of the other things that, you know, you can't. Like, you know, for example, I don't know, making all your own clothes or, you know, I don't know, like having a waste-free home. Like, you know, I find that really hard because, you know, the kids want to have this and that and the other. And I've battled it for a long time. And now it's like, okay, well, I guess we can get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say choose your things.
Yeah. And I think it's just like habit stacking too, like whether it's not buying bread because it comes in plastic, for instance. And then once you've nailed that and you're like, yep, that's a part of my everyday routine, then move on to the next thing. Like I'm really bad at going, I'm going to overhaul everything. And then everything falls to the wayside because I just don't have that capacity. So being realistic and, you know, just one thing at a time so you can stack it over time, not all at once.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, like with making bread, for example, like I go through phases where I don't, and then I've got a beautiful organic bakery in town, sourdough bakery. So I feel just as good going and buying from them and supporting their business. And it's a local business and they do a lot in the community and, you know, their bread doesn't come in plastic. And so, if you can't do it, I'm sure there's someone else locally or even not locally that can do it. And you can outsource some of those things as well.
Or even like with bread, I got into sourdough for a little while and I just forgot to feed my starter and it kind of all happened. And then my husband was like, why are you making sourdough? Can't you just make normal bread? I was like, I had never thought about that before. Like I can just make regular bread. Yeah. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in, you know, what's popular or trendy and not think about some simple solutions to problems that we might have or things we want to change, which was quite funny. It just never occurred to me to just make normal bread, which is so much simpler and quicker. But anyway, and so what's growing in your patch at the moment?
Oh, it's a little bit sad at the moment, but I've got broccoli and garlic and rocket and herbs and cabbage and cauliflower. Oh yeah, the citrus are all doing well.
Lovely.
Anyone that's been to our place or stayed here knows we have this amazing lime tree just outside the back door.
Beautiful.
And it just produces the most juicy, amazing limes. And pretty much we have a constant supply, even if it's like there's only a few months of the year where there's no fruit on it. And
amazing.
We juice it all and have enough for then anyway. So yeah, we've got orange and mandarins and limes and a few tamarillos hanging on. And actually capsicums are still going.
Yeah, we've got eggplants. I mean, we're a lot further north than you, but we've got eggplants growing right now abundantly.
Yeah, wow. I found an eggplant in my greenhouse the other day. I haven't picked it yet, but it was like Oh, hello.
Random. And mine's self-seeded too. I
Yeah.
was like, I didn't plant that. I don't know where it's come from.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, we're slowly getting all of our fruit trees in because it's a brand new block
Yeah.
that's here. So we're trying to get all of our trees established because I know that they're just going to take the longest.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we got
They take
smashed with
much.
rain, so I feel like all my seedlings just failed. Our
Yeah.
snow peas are even sad. There's just nothing really wants to
Yeah.
grow. So
Yeah.
we're in the same boat, a bit of a lull at the moment. And I'm still
Yeah.
getting used to the subtropical climate of planting and
Yeah.
how early to get my winter veg in. And so
Yeah.
I'm still getting there slowly.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're just constantly learning and
Mm,
improving and,
yeah.
and if you have a season that doesn't work that well, there's always the next season that
Yeah.
comes along. And yeah, like our fruit trees have, over the years now we've worked out, oh, that one just doesn't really do anything and this
Mm-hmm.
one's amazing. And so we put sort of more energy into the good ones. And
Yeah.
yeah, we have fruit fly problem around here. So,
Yeah.
I've sort of worked out that the stone fruit a bit hit and miss because also if we get
Okay.
it, if it's raining a lot, we find they've all
Split.
rotted before they're even ripe. And then
Yeah.
yeah, or pick them all and you bite in and there's a fruit fly maggot in it. And so yeah, you're slowly evolving and working it out. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have any tips for people just starting out on their permaculture journey?
um yeah, I guess it depends. I mean, if you're sort of talking garden and property, and I think thinking about what you can actually realistically do and not
Mm.
sort of get too caught up in because also your life changes too, which
Mm-hmm.
is sort of you have different phases where you have more time or less time or it's like, so I planted a berry patch and at first I was like, right, how many berries, how many raspberries, how many blueberries, how many of all these berries will I need to plant to feed a family of 5 all year round. And before I knew it, I was halfway down the block. And then I went, actually, realistically, I'm not going to manage that. So,
Yeah.
just not going too big too soon.
Yeah.
And one thing I've really noticed now that my kids are getting older is really getting that sense of time and
Mm.
that what seems like forever and I know people always say this, and when your kids are young it's like it is forever, but that time isn't actually forever. And
Yeah.
that at some point things will change and either you might have some more time or maybe you don't need 5 apple trees when
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a full family all living at home or
Mm.
I guess it's just keeping that perspective of that what is right now. Because I remember starting off this place, it just felt like forever we were going to be here with kids.
Yeah.
And my oldest has just left home. The other 2 are still here. But it is a very different kind of set of needs that we have now, and the
Mm.
amount of time I've got to put into it is different. And so it's always constantly evolving. And you hear people, they get rid of some fruit trees because they can't cope or they don't need them or they're not working. And
Yeah.
what you plan on your first plan isn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily going to be it forever. Like
Yeah.
it will evolve over time.
Yeah. And making some things, there for now. Like I know
Yeah.
in our block, because it's new as well, we planted garlic last year and it was totally in the wrong spot. And I didn't realize until it got into the depths of winter. But being okay with that and being okay with a change of plans, because we can be
Yeah.
very rigid, can't we?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think you
Yeah.
just have to go with the flow in life.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. It was lovely to hear about your journey. And have you got any plans, big plans for Pip in the next, season of its iterations, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, I think like we, of course we keep the print magazine going and the articles and that side of things. But I'm really wanting to get into sharing knowledge and ideas on a different levels. So one through online courses and things where people can, they're not just reading about it, they can actually connect and learn like that, but also in-person courses and in-person events and opportunities for people to come together, not just to learn permaculture skills, but even just to get together and connect about where we're at in life and how to balance things. And so we have always have many ideas and they're all coming to fruition bit by bit. So watch this space.
Excellent. And I saw, have you got bread workshops coming up?
Yeah, I've got a sourdough bread making workshop in a couple of weeks. So that should be fun.
Yeah.
So we'll do an in-person one here, but then, we're building an online one that people can do if they can't make it all the way to little old far south coast in Pambula.
It's worth the visit though. It's such a beautiful place.
It is. It really is a lovely spot. So
yeah,
we want to have more events that, give people an opportunity to come and, connect with nature and actually come up here and have some downtime and really slow down and connect to nature and have some time to kind of not heal, but to take a break from the busy world and
slow down.
So we're heading in that direction as well.
Amazing. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you.
And if people want to connect with you, I can put everything in the show notes where to find the website and social media to keep up to date with everything Pip related.
Great.
Perfect.
That'd be awesome.
Thanks, Robyn.
Thank you.
Bye.